Welcome back to the Piacenza Calcio Youth Academy Challenge. Now, the big event of today's episode is Youth Intake Day, but before we get on to that, we do need to go and have a look at the team's results. So since the last episode, we've played 14 league games, and we're definitely learning that progress isn't always a straight line. If I'm being honest, this stretch of games perfectly sums up where this Piacenza side currently is. We're capable of the phenomenal, the good, and the outright bad. As a team, we're not great. We're not bad, we're just learning, developing. Those 14 league matches, we find ourselves qualified for the playoffs. We're sitting in 6th, and since the last episode, we've actually picked up 5 wins, 5 draws, and 4 defeats, which on the surface feels fine, but the story underneath those numbers is far more complicated. January started with frustration. A draw against Lecco, a narrow loss away at Padova, games where we weren't being blown away, but we also didn't quite do enough to win. And then, out of nowhere, Trento away. A game that on paper should have been somewhat tricky. Instead, it was chaos, but in the best possible way. We started the game on fire. Zolo put the ball out to the left, found Parecci, and his cross was turned in by Fucci for an early 1-0 lead. But we weren't done there. We started again, straight from kickoff, went down the other end and got a second goal. Inverardi just beat his marker at the back post to put us 2-0 up. Parecci was involved again as some intricate football on the edge of the box released the left back. He took his time, picked his man, and it was 3-0 before you know it. Inverardi at the double. Again, it was just a one-sided game. Parecci with another assist as Fucci scored a great header towards the back post to make it 4. And then the 5th wasn't too far behind. Inverardi crossed it in, Isaac Agrikawa was there, and it was 5-0 before you knew it. The 6th goal was a bit of a good goal as well. Put Zolo out to Carbone, some intricate passing towards the edge of the box. Arba put it into Palodri, into Granero, and that was 6. But the best of the goals came as the 7th. Intricate one-touch passing on the edge of the area, and Granero finished it off. 7 goals, 13 shots on target, and a complete control of the transition movements of the game. We were flying. This wasn't just a win, it was a reminder of what this team can be when everything clicks. And it gave us belief. But the problem with belief is that it doesn't always then deliver consistency. Days later, reality came back and hit us hard. A 3-4 defeat to Mantova, a loss away at Sudatrol, and drop points in games where we created chances but just couldn't control moments. See, the thing with this Piacenza team is it still swings between extremes. We seem good going forward, albeit missing chances, but we are leaving ourselves far too open at the back and giving our young goalkeeper, who Pichi is now our new number 1, plenty or too much to do. So it resulted in a little tweak of the tactic. Up until now, we were playing an attacking 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, wide forwards and attacking wing-backs asked to get up and down the pitch. On paper, as a combination and defensively, it looked balanced, but in practice, it asked a lot from players who are still developing and did leave us very vulnerable at the back. The idea was to control through our structure. A sitting defensive midfielder, 2 midfielders ahead of him. Wide players were expected to stretch the pitch and then track back, wing-backs asked to start high, push on and then retreat into a defensive shape. But what actually happened was this. We often defended with 3, leaving a lot of space open. Carbone is good, but he can't be everywhere at once. Our wide players were cutting in too soon and restricting the space for the on-rushing attacking midfielders. Our striker was frequently cut off from the rest of the team as we looked to transitions. We weren't bad, but we were getting caught a lot in those transitional moments. The biggest flaw in the old system wasn't any single specific role. It was the spacing between the lines. There was too much distance during transitions, centre-backs and wing-backs were far apart, causing defensive holes. Midfielders were pushed too high, causing gaps the opposition could exploit, which meant we were rushed and then panicked in our transition. That made us very vulnerable as soon as a game became stretched. So after these results, and honestly, I just watched the games, it became clear this squad doesn't need more control in the games, it needs a structure that can ease between in and out of possession formations. That then allows us to commit to pressing and still have a commitment to getting the right players forward. So we changed the system. We're now running a 4-2-3-1. It's built around high intensity, aggression without the ball, and more vertical movements in possession, which fits this squad far better. The biggest structural change is here. Instead of a single defensive midfielder, we now play a double pivot. 2 midfielders, closer together, more active. They're sharing responsibility instead of deferring it. This has improved our counter-press, our ability to win second balls, and more importantly, our defensive coverage when our wing-backs push on. It also allows us to utilise an attack midfielder to support the lone striker both in and out of possession. In the old system, the fullbacks were asked to do too much. In this one, they're essential and controlled in what they do. The wing-backs, they are now providing width and creating overloads, stretching defensive horizontally, whilst also being able to retreat into a defensive shape more easily. The attacking quartet has also experienced a change. Instead of wide midfielders tracking back and forth, up and down, we now have inverted wide players and a central attacking midfielder. That should result in a striker who's no longer isolated. The distances between them all are shorter, and thus the combinations can be quicker. We're creating chances closer to goal, resulting more meaningful crosses and are generally a higher XG in games. We've also had a slight philosophical change as well. We've moved away from let's sit in a defensive shape with a big number of people behind the ball to a let's win the ball back immediately, a counter-pressing system, with a slightly higher line, resulting in more pressure and more turnovers. Now don't get me wrong, I know this system won't be perfect, and as new players come through our youth intake with new skill sets, the tactics will adapt. I do think FM26 allows that adaptation to happen more easily, but this is by no means a finished article. And since we introduced those tactical tweaks, one of the biggest themes has been draws. Inter under-23s, Cittadella and Novara, 3 draws in the league. Games where we weren't overly worse than our opponents, but again, we're not being ruthless either. We had spells of dominance, strong XG numbers, and a seemingly good structure. But there's just not enough cutting edge. This is actually something I hope the players will develop in time rather than a tactical problem. We picked up good wins too, we beat Chievo and Desenzano, but there's always seems to be a nagging feeling that you can learn more in defeat and loss than with a win. The tactical tweaks may have lurched us in a direction to be too attacking, but I think it gets till the end of the season as a trial before adapting it into the next variation with the latest intake batch. So whilst the league has been going on, we've also had the Syria Cup. And while the league form has been messy, the cup told a very different story. Starting with the semi-final against Cerignola, over 2 legs, we showed 2 disciplined performances. We managed the game, controlled the tempo, and the players didn't seem to panic. After the 25th minute, Inverardi's corner was turned in by Fucci at the near post to put us 1-0 up, and we didn't have to wait too much longer to make that a 2-0 lead. As they tried to play out from the back, Batista controlled the ball, ran down the right-hand side, but was tackled well by a tracking Inverardi, who eventually got the ball off Parlato. Inverardi ran down into the open space, found Fucci, got back on the rebound, held the ball up well, found Carbone, and from there we kept a bit of possession. Napolitano ran into some space, he looked it down the line to Puzzolo, back to Napolitano, and as we worked the ball really well, Puzzolo beat his man, laid it back, De Luca's shot was blocked, and Leena headed home the rebound. 2-0 as we headed into the Syria Cup semi-final second leg. This game was over and done. Isak gave the ball away but then won it back with tenacity in midfield, launching us into a quick transition where Inverardi scored at the far post with a wonderful finish. We then got our second of the game where Paracci, who's been deadly down the left-hand side this season, swung in a cross and Galena met it, lobbing the goalkeeper to make it 2-0. We weren't done there, and a breakaway goal from a corner gave us a 3-0 win. Napolitano straight ball up the line to Granero. His pace got him away from the defence and he fired past the keeper, lining us up with a final against Navarro over 2 legs. Navarro came into the final as their heavy favourite. The first leg was at home at their ground, and their first goal was quite impressive to watch. Ledone was crucial. He ran to the byline, cut it back and found Pagano, their 2 best players linking up and giving the home team a 1-0 lead inside 10 minutes. But we have shown character all season. Inverardi brought the ball down on the left-hand side in his chest, dug out a cross, and Fucci's finish was deflected into the goal but still credited to the Italian striker. 1-1. But Pagano and his team Navarro had the last say. A corner to the back post, a header down, and it was Alberti that had given the home team the lead in the first leg, 2-1. But the second leg in front of our home fans at the sparsely populated home ground, we were always going to give it a go. Inverardi ran down the left-hand side all the way, dug out a cross and found Fucci, who headed home. 1-0, 2-2 on aggregate, only half an hour gone. The game was pretty stale until the 93rd minute, where a quick throw from Paracci resulted in a cross that found Fucci, and he had won Piacenza the Syria Cup. For the first time in this save, we've won ourselves a trophy. In the middle of a season where we're still trying to figure out who we are, our tactical identities, and the young players that we're going to bring through or bin off, we won the cup, and that really does matter. But what does the run really tell us about the league and the cup? 5 wins, 5 draws, 4 losses in our latest run in the league is great. A cup win is fantastic, but more importantly, we're looking more competitive in almost every single match. We're learning how to manage knockout football as the cup win shows, and we've proven we can finish the job when it really counts. The league table doesn't lie, and the underlying numbers don't lie either. We are way off winning this league, but we're going to have a chance in the playoffs, and we've got to make it count. We've got to show the football and the belief from the cup run, and can transition that to the league playoffs when needed. But now, on to the main event, Youth Intake Day. Overall, we've been given a golden generation once again, a total of 1 decent prospect, 3 good, 7 top and 5 elite players. Let's focus on the top and elite prospects only for this portion of the video. So top prospect number 1, Pietro Dondini, a defender, midfielder. He's pretty good. He looks intriguing. He looks like he's going to be a good part of the intake. Dondini is a versatile defensive player capable of operating at left back, centre back and stepping into midfield. From an attribute perspective, stand out at first is his defensive base. He already shows solid tackling, positioning, backed up by decent anticipation and decisions all at 15 years old. He doesn't appear to be a flashy defender, this is someone who reads the game before it happens. Technically, he's comfortable without being spectacular. His passing is tidy, his first touch is serviceable, and he doesn't panic in possession. That makes him ideal for a system that asks defenders to recycle the ball and stay composed rather than forcing risky passes. Physically, he's well balanced, he's not explosive, but he has respectable stamina and natural fitness, which is crucial if we eventually look at him as a fullback, potentially as a holding midfielder. His jumping reach and balance suggest he'll grow into duels rather than dominate them early. Now, personality-wise, this is where things get interesting. Dondini is temperamental. His media handling reflects that, short-tempered and confrontational. It's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, for defenders, a bit of edge can be an asset, but the key will be for monitoring, putting him alongside a calm, professional senior defender. You could channel that fire into leadership rather than frustration. Overall, Dondini feels like a long-term tactical piece. He may not headline the academy, but these are often the players who quietly become indispensable. He could well be one that we trust in big games in the future. Top prospect number 2, Vittorio Lepena. Vittorio Lepena is a very different profile entirely. Lepena is an attacking midfielder by trade, and you can see that immediately in his technical attributes. His technique, first touch and work rate are the foundations of his game. He looks like he'll be comfortable receiving the ball between the lines, turning under pressure and keeping attacks alive rather than forcing those hero moments. His balanced mental makeup suggests he's not reckless and he's not passive. His decisions and composure are already at a level where you can imagine him playing structured football rather than chaos ball. That is absolute gold if we develop into a possession-based system. Physically, he's not dominant, but he doesn't need to be. His acceleration and agility are enough to create separation in tight spaces, and that's exactly what you want from a central creator at this age. He's more about timing than speed. Personality-wise, Lepena is balanced. His media handling is calm. No drama, no ego, hopefully no headlines. Just someone who goes about his work. These players often develop steadily without spikes or collapses, and they can be ideal for long-term development plans. Tactically, I can already see 2 possible paths. He'll either be a classic advanced midfielder who links the play, or a deeper creator, eventually dropping into a holding role. His versatility should give us options. Lepena might not explode into our first team overnight, but this feels like a player who could quietly become the brains of the side in maybe 4, 5 or 6 years' time, of course depending on who else arrives in his position. Top prospect number 3 is Federico Borani. He's a really fascinating defensive prospect who plays at right back. His standout qualities are his tackling, technique and bravery. For a 15 years old player, that's a rare combination. He doesn't shy away from challenges, and he already looks comfortable engaging opponents one-on-one. Technically, he's better than you might expect for a defender. His crossing is respectable, his first touch is clean, and he's not afraid to carry the ball forward. That opens the door for him to develop into a modern fullback rather than a purely defensive one. Mentally, Borani is aggressive. Maybe a little bit too aggressive at times. His determination and bravery are positives, but his personality is listed as unambitious. It's something we can manage carefully with mentoring and development. This doesn't mean he lacks talent, it just means his motivation will need to be nurtured. Media-wise, he's level-headed and calm, which actually contrasts nicely with his on-the-pitch aggression. It's often a good sign, a player that fights on the pitch but can keep things professional off it. Physically, he's solid rather than spectacular. He's not rapid, but his balance and jumping reach suggest he could grow into a reliable defensive presence rather than an overlapping speed merchant. Borani feels like a long-term project, one that could go very well with the correct mentoring and development training schedules. If his ambition develops, he could be a serious Syria B level fullback in the making. Top prospect number 4, Michel Boafogia. He might be the most technically refined midfielder of all these top prospects. Right away, his first touch, technique and decisions jump off the screen. He's comfortable in possession, rarely rushed, and already shows signs of being a tempo controller rather than a highlight reel player. This is someone who wants the ball and knows what to do with it. Mentally, he's one of the smartest prospects here. His decisions, teamwork and vision are all well ahead of his age. That suggests a player who understands structure and spacing, not just individual actions. Physically, he's not imposing, but he doesn't need to be. His stamina and natural fitness are good enough to sustain midfield involvement, and his balance help him survive physical battles despite his size. The personality note here is unambitious again, which seems to be a recurring theme with some of these prospects. This doesn't cap his ability, but it means we just need to create the right environment and help him develop. Strong leadership groups, competitive squads, and a clear pathway will probably be essential. Media handling is friendly and calm, which makes him an easy player to protect from pressure. No ego, no theatrics. Boafogia screams system player. He may never be the headline act, but these are often the midfielders we as managers love most. The ones who make everyone else look better. Top prospect number 5 is Emilio Berto, the striker of the group. Berto is a fascinating striker profile. Technically, his technique and first touch are already very strong. His off-the-ball movement and teamwork in a forward who wants to be involved rather than isolated. Physically, this is where his upside really shows. His acceleration, natural fitness and balance give him a platform to develop into a mobile striker who will be able to press, drift wide and link play. He's not a target man, he's more of a modern forward. Mentally, he's aggressive, hard-working and determined. That's a great base for a striker, but his media handling is outspoken, volatile and confrontational. That's a huge red flag. This is a personality that can explode under pressure if not managed carefully. The good news, he has got a balanced personality overall. He's a fan of the club, and with strong mentoring, that fire within him could become confidence rather than chaos. Tactically, Berto fits multiple roles, channel forward, deep lying forward or a pressing striker. That's a flexibility we like because it gives us options as the first team evolves. He's raw, he's probably emotional, but he might also be the one the fans fall in love with. For better or for worse. Next up is top prospect number 6, Mattia Lovato, and we head between the sticks. And this is one I'm quietly excited about. Mattia Lovato is a 16-year-old goalkeeper, homegrown at Piacenza, and goalkeepers often take longer to mature. However, he has early signs that are genuinely promising. The first thing that jumps out is his physical profile. His natural fitness at 18 is huge for his age, and combined with decent acceleration and agility, it suggests a goalkeeper who'll handle the demands of senior football far better than most teenagers. From a goalkeeping perspective, his reflexes and rushing out, both sitting at 11, immediately stand out as positive. It gives him an edge. He should be comfortable reacting quickly and sweeping behind a defensive line. That fits perfectly with how we want our goalkeepers to play long term. Command of area at 11 is another key tick. Although not elite yet, it's very encouraging for a 16-year-old. Mentally, Lovato is solid without being spectacular. Decisions, determination and work rate are all in double figures, which gives him a reliable base. Crucially, his personality is balanced and his media handling is level-headed. It's exactly what I want in a young goalkeeper. Hopefully, no drama and no volatility. Just someone who quietly gets on with his development. There are definitely areas to work on, of course. Handling and communication will need time, and coaching will need to be put into this. His weaker left foot will limit his immediate on-the-ball playing capacity, but none of these are huge red flags. They're all just development points. Lovato feels like a long-term project goalkeeper. Not someone we can rush, but someone we look to integrate a bit slower. Maybe a loan move here or there, cup games if he's still at the club. If he develops as we hope, this could be a genuine first team option in 2 to 3 seasons. And for a club rebuilding through youth, that is massive because goalkeepers are tough to find. And finally, top prospect number 7, Manolo Ikamino. One of the most intriguing profiles in this entire intake. Ikamino is a 16-year-old defender who can also operate in midfield. That versatility immediately makes him valuable. It's not just where he plays, it's how he plays. Defensively, the standout attributes are marking at 13, tackling at 9, positioning at 8 and leadership at 13. That leadership number at the age of 16 is rare and could very much be crucial as we hunt for future captains in the team. He's fairly loyal and level-headed with the media. Physically, he's built for a defensive role. 6'1" and with solid strength and jumping reach, he profiles well as a centre-back or a defensive midfielder. He's not quick, pace and agility are at most modest, but this feels like a player who reads the game rather than relying on recovery speed. Mentally, Ikamino is fascinating. Bravery 13, leadership 13 and a solid concentration suggest a player who won't hide in tough moments. He won't be flashy, flair is low meaning his creativity is limited, but that won't be his job. In possession, he looks like he'll be more functional rather than progressive. Passing and technique are adequate but not eye-catching, but enough to support build-up play without risk. This makes him ideal as a defensive anchor rather than a ball-playing showpiece. Ikamino feels like the type of player every long-term save needs. Not a wonder kid headline grabber, but a potential future captain, squad pillar, and one of the most crucial roles in football, a water carrier. If we give him minutes, mentor him well, he could be the heartbeat of this Piacenza spine in 5 or 4 years. On to the elite prospects, and this is where we get excited. Elite prospect number 1 is Reya. He's a left wing back, balanced personality, and level-headed with the media. Reya looks like a prototype modern wingback, and that's not something you say lightly at 15 years old. His standout technical base is built on crossing, 10, technique, 10, supported by a decent first touch of 8. And the trait runs with ball often. This shows he's not a fullback who stays home. This is someone who wants to advance play, stretch the pitch and contribute in the final third. Physically, Reya profiles extremely well for the role. Acceleration 13, pace 12 and agility 10. Giving him the engine required to operate up and down the flanks. He may not overpower opponents, but he'll outrun them, and at this level, that matters enormously. Mentally, Reya is quite impressive. Bravery 19 jumps off the page. He's backed by aggression of 18. It's suggesting he won't shy away from physical contests despite his size. His balanced personality and level-headed media handling paint the picture of someone who can manage his emotions and his expectations. Probably quite a rare and valuable mix for a young defender. In a tactical sense, Reya feels perfectly aligned with our evolving systems. Advanced wing-backs demand intelligence, stamina and discipline, all areas where Reya already shows promise. He may not be the flashiest elite prospect in this intake, but his floor appears extremely high. If developed patiently, he has the tools to become a long-term starter. The kind of academy graduate we may not notice until he's played 150 games. Elite prospect number 2 is Glenona. Attacking midfielder, forward. He's unambitious, but he's also level-headed. He's an interesting contradiction. On the pitch, he looks like he'll play like someone who wants responsibility. Off it, his personality is unambitious. That doesn't necessarily mean a lack of talent, it often means a player who needs clear structure and defined expectations to thrive. Technically, Glenona is one of the most refined attackers in this intake. Finishing 13, technique 12 and passing 10 give him multiple ways to influence games. First touch of 10 allows him to operate comfortably between the lines, and flair 12 and the places shots trait, we are looking at a player who thinks creatively in the final third with an eye for goal. Physically, he's well-rounded rather than explosive. Natural fitness 16 and stamina 12 are standouts, suggesting reliability and availability. Traits that we know as coaches we value immensely. He won't overwhelm defenders with his pace, but he should outlast them. Mentally, Gleona's determination of 14 and teamwork of 14 help offset concerns about ambition. He may not chase the spotlight, but he'll do the job asked of him. His level-headed media handling further reinforces the idea of a low-noise professional athlete. For Piacenza, Gleona feels like a system player again, someone who thrives when roles are defined and trust is earned. He has the technical base to grow into a reliable first-team contributor, rather than a fleeting talent. So elite prospect number 3 is Zanchin, which I think could be the best name of the intake. He's a defender across both sides, he's fairly professional, and he's got a trait of gets forward whenever possible. Zanchin might be one of the most tactically exciting players in this entire intake. Comfortable on either flank, Zanchin blends defensive reliability with attacking intent, a profile that every modern system craves. Technically, he's pretty solid across the board. Crossing 9, passing 9 and technique 9 allow him to contribute in possession. Tackling 7 and marking 6 suggest the defender still in development but far from naive. His standout mental traits are work rate 15 and determination 13. This hints at a player who will improve and never give up. Physically, Zanchin isn't dominant but is functional. Natural fitness for 16, stamina 10, supports his aggressive forward movement. Reinforced by that trait, gets forward whenever possible. This is not a passive defender. He wants involvement in the game. Personality is where Zanchin looks promising. Fairly professional and that level-headed with the media suggest he is emotionally stable and he could be a coach's dream. No drama, no noise, just progression. Hopefully. Zanchin's ceiling may not be as eye-catching as some attacking prospects, but his reliability could make him invaluable. This is the kind of player who could quietly become indispensable to the club. Elite prospect number 4 is Jacopo Trasani, who's an attacking midfielder or maybe a second striker. He's unambitious, but also unflappable with the media. Trasani is a player that seems to be defined by his composure. Unflappable media handling immediately separates him from the pack. Pressure simply doesn't seem to faze him. On the pitch, Trasani is a technically excellent player. Technique of 14, passing 10 and first touch 11 give him the tools to dictate tempo in advanced areas. Finishing 7, but with the places shots trait hints at a goal threat without forcing it. He's a connector, someone who links play rather than dominates it. Physically, he's agile and sharp. Acceleration 10, agility 11 and balance 10 should make him difficult to dispossess. Natural fitness 11 ensures consistency. Mentally, bravery 18 and flair 14 suggest courage in tight spaces, a rare trait in young midfielders. The question mark is ambition. Like Glenona, Trasani may need external motivation, but his calmness, his unflappable professionalism and technical security means he could thrive in a high-pressure moments team, once he's established. For Piacenza, Trasani feels like a player for the big games. If nurtured correctly, he could become the kind of academy graduate we trust implicitly. Steady, intelligent and quietly decisive. And then we get on to elite prospect number 5, Samuel Caputo. He's an attacking midfielder forward, temperamental, media friendly and confrontational. But Caputo is the kind of youth intake prospect that immediately splits opinion, and that is usually a good sign in Football Manager. At just 15, technically Caputo is ahead of the curve. Finishing 13, first touch 10 and long shots 12 point towards a natural goal threat from advanced areas. Passing 12 and flair 11 suggests he's more than just a runner and a finisher into the box. Physically, Caputo has the tools to survive senior football straight away. Acceleration 14, agility 12, making dangerous in transitions, and his natural fitness of 16 hints at a durability over a long season. This is a player who wants to be involved constantly, capable of operating off the right, centrally, or even as a second striker. The risk and the intrigue comes from his personality. Caputo is temperamental and his media handling flags him up as media friendly but short-tempered and confrontational. If managed well, this is a confidence and an edge. If mishandled, it becomes frustration and noise. The upside is that he won't hide. He'll demand responsibility when the pressure comes. For Piacenza, Caputo feels like a modern academy attacker. Expressive, fearless, and ever so slightly volatile. With the right mentoring and a clear tactical role, he does have the ceiling to become a first-team difference maker, rather than just remain as a prospect. This will not be a slow burn project with him. This is a player we could potentially build tactics around from an early age. So get in the comment section and let me know who your favourite is and who you're most excited about. I'm generally very excited about where this save is going. We've won our first trophy and we've reached the playoffs back to back. I'll be back with the next episode very shortly where we'll be going through the end of season review, looking at all the players and seeing where we can go from here. But thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.